Hello and welcome to another review of Drones Visual. Today I bring you a review of the Cheerson CX35 that seems to be Cheerson's response to the Syma X8. Despite being a big boy, the CX35 is a brush quadcopter, but it comes with a few interesting features that might help beginners. Among them, we have one key takeoff and landing, return home and altitude hold. Another really nice feature in this quad is the fact that it comes FPV ready, so you have a monitor built in the transmitter and an FPV transmitter and camera in the quadcopter itself. In terms of design, Cheerson has come up with this alien aircraft look that by some reason I keep seeing in many quadcopters recently. I like the design and the looks, but I feel that the build quality could have been much better. In this review I'll try to cover the most essential aspects of the CX35, including the flying, and then, based on your questions, I might do a second part. We will start by covering the physical components of the quad and the specs, and in the final part of the review, move to check how it flies and the quality of the footage recorded by the onboard camera. We need to start somewhere, so let's start by taking a look at the camera on the Cheerson CX35. The camera in the Cheerson CX35 is an HD camera, or 720p. Not sure why Cheerson didn't opt for a full HD, that would have been much better of course, but well, the camera is attached to a servo that will allow us to control pitch using the transmitter, and also the camera is connected to an FPV transmitter, so you can fly the CX35 while seeing it on your FPV monitor. On the rear of the camera you have a slot to connect the micro SD card where you will record your video to. I think that the final version of the CX35 will include a 2GB memory card, but don't take my word for it. On the bottom of the camera you will see 3 LED lights and that will let you know when the camera is recording and so on, and then right under you can see 3 tiny openings. I suspect that the microphone is located there, and they will allow you to record the magical melody produced by your spinning props. Who doesn't enjoy listening to that, right? And here is the range of movement now of the servo holding the camera. According to the specifications, the range will be of about 45 degrees, and you can also see that there are 4 dampening balls between the servo and the quad, and luckily they will absorb some of the vibrations. Although I'm not very optimistic about this, you can judge by yourself after seeing the footage at the end of the video. Right next to the base of the camera mount, we will see a switch to power on and off the quad, and right behind you will see 2 connectors labeled S1 and S2. One of the connectors powers the servo and has a signal wire to control the pitch. The other connector powers the camera and controls the camera while getting the video signal to the FPV transmitter. Here you can get a closer look at the prop guards that come with the Cheerson CX35. They are a good thing, of course, because the props don't look very strong to me. Then you can see the motors over here, and we will see later whether the gears moving the props are made of plastic or metallic or what. Then it's time to see what the battery power in this big boy looks like. Here you can see the GST connector to plug the battery, and the compartment, to plug the battery. I thought with so much space, the battery would have a very large capacity, but that was not the case. We get a 1300 milliamp 2S battery that once you place it in the compartment, you will realize that has enough space to actually dance rock and roll inside that compartment. So you might need to use some cardboard or something like that to keep the battery from moving too much inside there. Let's examine now the landing gear. The landing gear is alright. It seems flexible, and I assume it will be able to resist some impacts, although I don't think it needs to be a heroic job, as the quad is actually very light considering its size. The total weight of the CX35 is around 400 or 450 grams if I recall correctly, so you should, I expect it to perform well, taking into consideration that it's a light quad. Here you can see the screws that seem to keep the landing gear in place, so it shouldn't be much of a trouble replacing it if it gets damaged. Then of course we have the LEDs on the arms for better orientation during night flies. You can see here the large LEDs covering under the arm, extending from the motors all the way to the body of the quad. Now here we have the transmitter. Starting from left to right, you have a button to adjust the frequency of the transmitter and receiver. Then you have the auto landing button, which is an arrow pointing down. Then under we have the home button for the return home function, followed by the auto takeoff and speed modes. Then next there are the buttons for photo and video, and then right above the mode change. You can also adjust the angle of the display to your needs. I will now proceed to show you how to adjust the pitch of the camera using the controls in the transmitter. When you proceed to power the quad initially, while your transmitter is off, the camera will take a certain position and then once you power the transmitter, this position will be adjusted. As you saw now, I just powered the quad and the camera goes like a little bit up, and then now I powered the transmitter. So basically the camera goes to this center position. Then I will move, if I move the pitch control in the transmitter, the angle of the camera changes, as you can see here. Here you can get a better look at the controls, and you can see how the controls to adjust the pitch of the camera operate. Notice the control is the one labeled auxiliary 1, has the one on the left side labeled auxiliary 2 has no function. I'm saying this just in case you go crazy with the other control and it doesn't work. You know that it's because you need to use the right control. Let me focus now on the quad so you can actually see the camera moving up and down as I play with the controls here. Let me get you a closer view now. I'm going a little bit fast now, up and down, so you can see how the camera moves. To unlock and lock the motors is very easy. Just press both sticks outwards and the motors will lock, and do the same, and this will lock the motors. So it's pretty simple, I think. I was initially a bit confused because I'm used to unlock both motors by pressing both sticks to the center, but in the CX35 you need to press them both outwards to unlock the motors. Keep that in mind. The screen on the transmitter has a size of 4.3 inches and a resolution of 480 by 272. The quality of the image is pretty much what you get. This is what you're seeing here. Of course, when you're flying, you'll get some wobbles from the vibration of the motors while you're flying, but other than that, the quality of the image is gonna be what you're seeing over here. Seems pretty good to me, actually. One handy feature of the CX35 that mostly for beginners is the one key takeoff button. As you saw here, I just press one button on basically the quadcopter took off. So that's pretty handy. Now it's coming to the flying part. The Cheerson CX35 is ready to explore the skies. I think it's important to mention that this quad has an altitude hold function, which means that with a built-in barometer it can keep constant altitude even after you release the sticks. But you will need to compensate for any drift that might be induced by the wind or any other factors. This is really nice for those of you thinking about recording video and not wanting to worry about sudden changes in altitude. In any case, in case you release the buttons, you could lose altitude, so this will prevent you from having any problems. We are starting to fly now in the first flying mode, which is called low, and it's supposed to be very stable and gentle, good for beginners. And yes, I can certainly confirm that it's very, and I mean very gentle in this flying mode. I mean, the responsiveness has been kept to a minimum level, so you'll need to be blind to lose control of the CX35. The yaw rate in this mode is so low that you almost need to brake the sticks to make the quad turn. Now I'm switching over to the high speed mode before I brake a stick. It certainly gets much more responsive in the high mode, so this allows me to, more control here to circle around, so you can get a better view of what it can do in terms of flying. But let me tell you that even in the high mode, the CX35 is still a gentle giant. I feel the flying style is meant to be for those only looking to record video or for very beginners, so I guess it might be a good option to get one of these as your very first quadcopter, or to teach someone how to fly. My fear is that the motors are not very strong, so I think this kind of quad will struggle while flying in some wind. Keep that in mind, especially if you live in places where a calm day is actually the exception. One good thing about these speeds is that there's little danger of a major structural damage in case of a collision, as this quad is rather light. In case of a collision, the prop guards and the props are the only things that could potentially suffer some damage, and they should not be very expensive to replace. Although I noticed that the screws holding the props insert into some plastic capsule on the shaft of the motors, and this could mean that if the plastic capsule resting on the shaft gets damaged, the screws holding the props might actually become loose. But provided you don't crash, this should not be an issue, and I also expect spare parts to become available soon, and I assume the capsule should be very easy to replace. Anyways, we could analyze that further in another video, in which I might open up the quadcopter and look inside to see how things are arranged in there. Now you have sort of seen the flying, and it is time to go and check out the quality of the footage in the CX35 looks like. I'm not sure if you noticed that the quadcopter is flying backwards now. It seems that I pressed by accidentally the return home function or something like that. but we need to go forward. So I'll bring the bird back and I will push it up to a certain altitude and start recording up there to see how the quality of the footage is. The weather is looking much better now. A blue sky always looks better in video, so whether you're using a GoPro or a tiny camera like this one, it's always good to have a blue sky. Now, something very important to keep in mind when judging this video is the fact that the video recorded from the camera is in HD, which means 720p. However, the video you're watching, this whole review has been recorded and rendered in Full HD, which is 1080p, which means that I had to considerably stretch the quality of the FPV footage, and hence the quality will look worse, much worse actually than it is in reality. If you want to compensate a little bit, you can make your browser window a little bit smaller, and that might help you get a more accurate idea of the quality of the footage. Having said this, it is still evident that the quality of the footage is heavily affected by vibrations coming from the motors. You could potentially minimize the unwanted vibration by securing better the screws holding the props, maybe balancing a bit the props. Could provide some benefits, although I'm not sure how much of a help with this kind of brush quads that would be. But right out of the box, this is the video quality you could expect. I would be interested in trying some brushless gimbal with this quad, maybe the Wakira G2D or something like that, but that probably will be in another video. The Cheerson CX35, it's a good match to the Syma X8, and it comes FPV ready, which is really nice. However, they need to improve more the build quality in order to make it more competitive. Ideally, this quad is for people with little to no experience wanting to take their first steps into the world of RC flying, as the CX35 is very stable and easy to fly, and it comes packed with functions such as one key takeoff and landing, and on top of that it comes with altitude hold that will make it easy to record video and fly. The quality of the footage is not the best, but I always say that it goes down to expectations. Seeing my video, you can judge by yourself whether it's acceptable to you or whether it does not meet your standards. The flying time is just as described, around 6 minutes with the 1300 milliamp battery, which takes around 3 hours to be fully charged. I feel good about the brushed quads incorporating more features that were only available before in brushless quads. We'll soon probably see many more brush quads equipped with GPS and stuff like that. The current price of the Cheerson CX35 is $132.99, and if you're interested in purchasing one, I place a link on the description. If you have any questions or would like to correct anything I said, please feel free to drop me some comments. I will gladly get back to you. Also, if you like the topic of drones and quadcopters and would like to get the latest news directly from China, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I hope to see you all in my next video.